Hey, what's going on? Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I'll be talking cornerbacks. And yes, we're still doing the free agency, have a bit to get through still, and may I remind you that Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. we are doing a free agency live stream preview show / Q&A, so come hang out with me right here on the channel. So let's jump into today's episode, breaking down some corners the Jets should be looking into. We'll start with the big fish, work our way down as we always do, and to me, the number one cornerback on the market is William Jackson III, 29-year-old from the Cincinnati Bengals. Here's his PFF grades over the last 3 years: 71.4, 53.6, and 73.4. He has one interception this past year, and his completion percentage allowed is extremely impressive, 51.4% and an 88.2 quarterback rating. I don't think he's going to get a ton of money, meaning like in that $15 million range, but if you're looking right around 10, maybe 11 or $12 million, I think it would be worthwhile. To me, this is the best corner on the market right now. And there's someone right behind him, not too far off, who's maybe a little bit of a better fit. But William Jackson has to make this list as a premier corner, which is something the Jets need. All right, so maybe the better fit, Richard Sherman. Yes, he's 33 years old, but he had a ton of success with Robert Saleh. 67.7 this year, 88.9 last year, 2 years ago, I guess, and 68.9 3 years ago. He only played 5 games this past year in 2020. He was banged up. He did have an interception, 72.4 completion percentage allowed, and 116.2 rating. Again, really good scheme fit, knows the system, and he would be a really good mentor, kind of like what Ty Law was for Darrelle Revis back in 2008. We could maybe see something similar with Richard Sherman and the young cornerbacks that are already on the roster, like Bryce Hall, I almost said Buster Screen, Bless Austin, and Javelin Guidry. So maybe that would be a good thing to bring in a guy like Richard Sherman. Usually I don't want to sign a 33-year-old corner, but this is a little bit of a unique situation. The last big fish option is Shaquille Griffin. He's 26 years old from the Seattle Seahawks. Pro Football Focus grades the last 3 years: 64.1, 77, and 54.7. He's really come on the last 2 years. 62.1 completion percentage against, 97.3 rating. He's a solid starting outside corner. I think it's going to be maybe around 10 or $11 million to get him signed. The good thing is he's still young and he's kind of just coming into his own now. And I think that Robert Saleh can get a ton out of a guy like him. And also it's making Seattle weaker, which is what we want to do since we have their first round pick in 2022. So I'm all for making them weaker, and I'm not opposed to spending big money at cornerback. It's a big need. Let's talk some mid-tier options. A guy that I really like is Ronald Darby. 69.8 Pro Football Focus grade this past year, 44.8 with his last year with the Eagles, but 70.6 the year prior. That weird 2019 season was off for him. Last season was his first year in a while that he wasn't injured, so there is a past injury history. So if that's something that scares you, maybe you stay away from him, and I totally get that, but his numbers are really good. 54.1 completion percentage against, allowed an 81 rating. I think maybe $9 million should be enough to get it done. But injuries to me is what makes him a mid-tier. If he was someone who played every game and has for the last few years, I think he's someone who's sneaking up to double digits in AAV. But I think you're looking at around $9 million a year. So he gets a little bit of a rung down than the other three. Okay, this next guy is a potential replacement for Brian Poole. So Brian Poole would make my list by default, but he's an internal free agent, so that's a little bit different. And yes, I did a video on it already. I do think the Jets should bring back Brian Poole, but if they don't, K'Waun Williams could be a good replacement. He's 30 years old, 66.2 Pro Football Focus grade this past year, 80.3 in 2019, and 66.7 in 2018. He would, again, be a slot replacement. 75% completion percentage allowed, 81.9 rating. I think you can get him for about $5 million, which is right around where Brian Poole was. I'm pretty sure this past year, $5 million. So that would be a really good value player. He's a little bit older than Brian Poole is, but he's someone who knows Robert Saleh's system and had success with Robert Saleh, and we know that usually when coaches come in, they want to bring in their own guys, so this could potentially make sense for the Jets. Speaking of Saleh guys, let's add another one. The 49ers have a ton of free agents, so let's take a look. Jason Verrett, 30 years old, 77.6, wasn't really healthy the last 3 years prior to that when he was with the Chargers, but he was really successful with Robert Saleh this past year. 66.7 completion percentage, 76.3 rating allowed. It's risky, again, because of the injury history in years gone by, but it'd be naive to not talk about how good he fit under that Robert Saleh defense. I think you could probably get him at around $5 million, something like that, a year, and probably not long term because of the injury history. It might be pretty good value on someone who is playing like a number one corner. So it's an interesting thing. It's not my preferred option, but it's intriguing for a mid-tier option. All right, to the bargain bin we go. Let's talk about Mackenzie Alexander, 27 years old. He had a 60.4 Pro Football Focus grade, 65.7, and 78.1 in 2018. 69.6 completion percentage against, 82.3 rating. He's not someone who's going to be a super big name, but you might be able to get some good value there, especially playing with some Robert Saleh. So if you're telling me you can get him for maybe $3 million, that would also be an intriguing one. And again, it's not like, this is not the preferred options. Shopping in the bargain bin at corner is not preferred, but I'm just trying to find some value here in case there's a swing and a miss, and a guy like Alexander could potentially provide that. And the last bargain bin guy I want to talk about is Nickell Coman. He's 29 years old, and yes, he is the guy with the infamous non-call penalty from the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago. 51.1 Pro Football Focus grade this past year, not good. 74.5 the year before that, and 79.8 the year before that. He's a feisty slot corner who just played on an awful Philadelphia Eagles team this past year. And I mean, the numbers aren't good. 78.8 completion percentage, 125.2 rating this year. Awful. The year prior, though, 64.1, 84.3. That's a lot more like it. About $2 million, I think, will probably get it done coming off a bad year. If you're looking to find a low-cost replacement for Brian Poole, a guy like Nickell Coman could potentially work. Again, this is not my preferred option, but if you're looking to find some value, I definitely think he would be on the upswing, and playing in a Robert Saleh defense would help tremendously. So let me know if there's someone that you think the Jets should sign in free agency at the cornerback position. Drop it in the comments or on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. Thank you so much for watching today. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.